The young boy, the thousands of people surrounding him.
I used to call it, when I shot it, the birth of omnipotence. This little baby, that day, is seeing an image that will remain with him, will accompany him all his life. I mean, is the omnipotence of a 3 years old little baby, excuse me, who is kidnapped from his family and sat on the throne of China.
But the way you do it too, that sweeping, uncut shot, which must have required immense preparations.
It was just one morning preparation.
Just one morning.
You know, I really never prepare a lot my movies. I don't do storyboards. I just love to improvise because I think that the camera deserves as much reality as possible in front of it, and so the improvisation gives me the feeling that something can happen that one didn't prepare, and this is the best that can happen during
Is this
shooting.
one of the things that comes out of your background then in Italian cinema? You come up on Accattoni, then you're doing other films like Before the Revolution. You're in a state of marvelous creative power in Italian cinema. Could you take us back to the Bertolucci of that time? What were you like as a young man just breaking in?
I started very, very, very young. I did my first movie when I was 21. And I felt that I was part of this movement that then was called La Nouvelle Vague, the new wave. It was they were doing the movies I really liked the best, like Jean-Louis Godard, Truffaut, René. It was especially a group of French directors. But in fact, this movement had blossoms also in United States, in Canada, in Brazil, everywhere in the world. It was a kind of explosion of a new cinema. So I felt very much involved with that kind of movement.
And how did you typify yourself within it? Did you have an identity that you saw as distinct from these other filmmakers?
You know, I am Italian, but in fact I felt closer to the French filmmakers than to Italian cinema, that at the moment was a cinema of little comedies, kind of commedia all'italiana, as they were saying it. I don't know how to...
But yet, see, I have a tendency to think of you as like Visconti, a man of great visual power, a great eye, wonderful sense of color and theatrical gesture. Is that fair?
I think I feel quite close to Visconti, if not to Visconti's movies, quite close to the fascination he has for, let's say, moment of decadence in the society.
Indeed.
And also, yeah, for example, and also to the Italian melodrama, especially to Giuseppe Verdi. Visconti was using a lot Verdi's music.
Does this mean that like, say, Verdi and Aida, who became so fascinated with the costumes and the gestures of the Egyptians, you with the Chinese customs, did you become likewise intoxicated with the colors and the costumes?
I think that I was hypnotized from this kind of incredible visual luxury, and I don't know if it is like the Aida, in the sense that the Aida is a kind of monumental drama. But in fact, if I should define The Last Emperor, I wouldn't say that is an historical document. I would say more an historic novel, or sometime an historic melodrama. You know, melodrama, when I used to put Verdi's music in my movies, it was because I felt that with that kind of music, everything became possible in that moment, that very moment of the movie. It's a music which helps everything to levitate, to to lose the weight of realism.
And also, don't references to him bring forth an arch nationalism, too, that every Italian understands? I mean, you've got that plugged in with the name and the references to Verdi, don't you?
Yeah, Verdi was a real pop artist.
You have been called, I guess it's true, the first Westerner to make a film in China with complete Chinese cooperation. Did that ever lead to any interference
Sorry?
directed towards you? Did the Chinese at all try and interfere with the project?
They interfered with their help. They were very collaborative. Maybe because they liked the idea of the image that could eventually come out in the movie, the image of China that will be everywhere in the world. And they were, and also, you know, the story of Puyi, of the metamorphosis of Puyi, of the change of this man from emperor to citizen, is something that they consider very important. So I think they are glad the movie exists. I mean, they were suspicious at the beginning and they asked me for the approval of the screenplay. But once the screenplay has been approved, there were no interference, no pressure, no problem.
Is there one moment in this film, and I'm thinking of the Red Guard scene, that may demonstrate to you and to all of us that China is indeed changing?
I mean, I was amazed that they allowed me to shoot the sequence with the Red Guards and the Cultural Revolution, because even if today they are very critical with that period, it's still a very, very recent period. And it shows how much China has, I mean, I think this movie shows how much China has changed. I think that only 6-7 years ago, this movie was not possible.
Now, when are we going to see Red Harvest from you? Is it gone? Is it gone forever?
It's a ghost. It's still present next to me. I know it's somewhere, but it's a ghost. I don't know if
10 years from now, will people still ask you?
It will maybe be a real thing.
I mean, 10 years prior to this, people were talking about it. They're still talking about it.
Yeah.
Your name seems to have these ghosts cling to it a lot. Is there yet another ghost that you haven't had a chance to work on yet, in conclusion?
But I hope it is a ghost that will materialize. Maybe, yeah. It's a novel by an American writer called Paul Bowles, who lives in Morocco. And that is called The Sheltering Sky. And I can't tell the story because
we'll watch
it's hopeless
to
tell the story.
Bernardo Bertolucci.
Thank you.
Not an historian so much as a storyteller. And we are both in New York City. I'm John Tibbetts for KCTV5.